confirm what my speculation.
Okay. Sustained. Objection sustained. Move on to another topic.
Defendants. I guess I could start with Major Reed since he was the one that went ahead and detained Jade.
Did you want to call Major to the stand?
Yes, please. Yes, I'd like to call Major Reed to the stand.
Major Reed, please come up here to the stand. As we don't have a bailiff, I will be reading you an oath I wish you to confirm. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Okay. Mr. Benitez, you may continue.
Major Reed, good evening. Could you please state your full name and current rank within your selected department, please?
It's Braden Reed, Major with BCSO.
Now, as a major, I assume that you must have a few years of experience under your belt to have that title. Am I correct?
Yes.
In your previous years of law enforcement experience, have you ever determined a suspect strictly from bullet casings being found at a scene?
Depends on forensics and all that.
I'm going to ask the question one more time, a little bit more clearly. Have you ever come up with a name from bullet casings recovered at a scene without an actual gun being found?
There's other things that can be found on bullet casings, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm asking if you in particularly have ever had a case where you've had bullet casings lead to a successful arrest in your years without even so much as obtaining the gun that was used.
In the prior county, I don't believe so. No.
Okay, thank you. Now, from the moment of the time the crime was reported to the moment of time that Miss Jade was detained, could you let me know from your best recollection what that time was, or how long it took?
I have no idea. To be honest with you, it's been what, 3 weeks?
It has been quite some time, yes.
I can't give you an accurate time, so I'm not even going to answer that question. Sorry.
Would you be able to give me an estimated time?
I'm not going to estimate because I told you I don't. It's 3 weeks. I've been pretty busy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm not going to give it an incorrect answer, or you know what I mean?
Sure thing. Could you confirm that it happened within the same wave?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
Okay. Major Reed, did you obtain gunshot residue from the defendant from the moment that she was detained to the time that her head exploded?
That I was only the detaining officer. There was other 2 officers that were actually doing the investigation. I was just there to detain her, so I did not know.
Thank you so much. I have no further questions.
Okay, I will allow the defense to come up and cross-examine as we have the witness on the stand.
Thank you, Judge. One moment here while I get my notes.
Of course, take your time.
Okay. Is it Lieutenant Colonel? No, I'm sorry. Can you just go ahead and just state your name again and your rank and your department for the record?
Yeah, it's Braden Reed, Major with Blaines County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Major, and thank you for your service. Just to get started here, we'll go ahead and dig right into it. Can you explain the standard procedure for investigating a shooting incident?
I mean, it's. I'll try to do it quickly, so we're not here all.
That's fine. Yeah, just briefly.
Shooting scene. Ultimately, we're gonna, I mean, if we arrive to the scene, anybody on scene is going to be detained, of course, right? Because of it's a shooting. evidence is going to be collected. The evidence has actually got to be ran down to a lab, as stated already. The lab will then send us results back. Those results can be found in the database, and then then it's just ongoing. I'm not going to let everything that's going on. What we do is investigation, but there's an investigation that goes on. Whether it's ballistics, whether it's fingerprints, whether it's whatever kind of evidence we obtain. And then then we do our due diligence to do our job to apprehend people that possibly may be tied to the crimes of the shooting. And I mean, that's pretty much what I would say that I'm free to speak on.
Perfect. In a case like this, where a specific threat was made against the victim, as it was by someone with a known history of violence, how does that history impact the investigation? And Judge, if you would, I'd like you to pull up Exhibit C. This is going to be the threats made by Miss Onyx at the hospital while we're listening to the witness here in his answer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ultimately, in a case like this, where I believe it was the night before, I think it was the night before, like I said, it's been a while. Miss Jade Onyx did make a threat of saying that Mr. Jack Miller was a dead man. And, shortly after, no, not shortly after, but a day after, 2 days after, the man's being shot at a gym, and there was surveillance footage of a female. And then some forensic stuff coming back that was reasonable suspicion to detain her and bring her in for questioning.
Outstanding. So speaking of reasonable suspicion and probable cause, can you go over those two things and maybe explain to the court a little bit about what those have to do with law enforcement in this situation?
I mean, reasonable suspicion is basically more than a hunch. My experience, my intuition, and training as an officer, that a crime may have been committed, going to be committed, or has, without factual evidence. And then basically, I can detain GSR Terry Frisk, said person. Probable cause leads into basically the same exact thing, just having the factual evidence of a crime being committed or going to be committed. And then, of course, at that point in time, you can arrest, seize, on top of everything you do with reasonable suspicion.
Perfect. So given the bullet casings that have been discussed by the prosecution, linked back to Miss Onyx, and a video showing a female figure at the crime scene.
Objection leading.
What is your response to that, Mr. Beaumont?
If I could finish the question, you could.
Allow him to finish the question before you object, Mr. Benitez, please.
I'd be more than happy to entertain whatever he wants to do.
Finish the question.
In cases like this, where a specific threat was made against the victim, as shown in Exhibit C, and given the bullet casings linked back to Miss Onyx, as shown in Exhibit A, the police report, I believe it was. Let me double check that exhibit.
I just want to make the court clear. You have just reworded your question, Mr. Beaumont.
Okay, sorry. I'll read it
That's
exactly
fine.
how I've written.
I will sustain the objection, and you will just reword the question as you were starting to.
Okay, 1 second. I have to get back to my notes now.
That is fine.
I have tons of evidence presented, unlike the prosecution, so it's taking me a minute to get through it here. The
Objection? Irrelevance?
police report for the incident is Exhibit D. So
Statement, Mr. Benitez. He's asking you a question.
Exhibit D will show the police report. It also lists the bullet casings that were recovered. So that those are on record. So given those bullet casings linked back to Miss Onyx, as shown in the police report, and the video evidence that we've submitted into discovery showing a female figure at the crime scene, how would these pieces of evidence contribute to forming reasonable suspicion or probable cause based on your experience as a law enforcement officer?
It would lead more toward probable cause because you have a physical factual evidence with a a bullet casing in one way, shape, or form tying back to Miss Onyx. So that's where an arrest
Perfect.
would come in play.
So, just a few more questions. I'm sorry, I won't hold up too much more of your time. Could you explain the process of analyzing bullet casings and determining potential matches to firearms or individuals?
Say that one more time.
Could you explain the process of analyzing bullet casings? Maybe how you guys were able to at first determine that those casings were connected to Miss Onyx, and then later on, how you were able to determine they actually weren't definitive in your investigation?
Objection, Your Honor. He's not a forensic evidence specialist.
He is a law
Major
enforcement
Reed-
officer, though.
Well,
He
This
doesn't
is
have
just-
the evidence
give
himself.
me a moment to ask. Thank you. Major Reed, do you have expertise in forensic analyzation?
I mean, these
I don't
guys.
have expertise, but I mean, I know how. I mean, we do send the. I mean,
I can reword the
no,
question
I'm not
if
a
it
lab
helps.
expert, but I'm. If he's asking what we do to get the information, I can explain that. But I'm not by any means a forensic expert. No.
Okay. Objection sustained. Mr. Beaumont, reword the question,
Okay.
understanding that Mr. Major Reed is not a forensics
Sure.
expert.
Can you explain then how the casings were initially linked to Miss Onyx? And then what was the determination given to you? Actually, just explain to me. Just explain to me your guys' process, because I don't have any kind of factual evidence for what you would suggest afterwards.
Objection.
So-
That would be speculation because he did not come up with those conclusions himself. He received a piece of paper with his name on it.
I'm
With your
asking
name on
him
it,
just
sorry.
to. I'm asking him to describe how the PD came to determination that those casings belong to Miss Onyx.
And it's been asked and answered. He received a piece of paper with Jade Onyx's name on it.
Did not
Okay,
receive
so
this paper.
explain to me the lab
Um,
process at PD.
One moment. Give me a second. Objection overruled. The court understands that Major Reed is not a forensics expert. He's going to explain the process in layman's terms because he's a PD officer, but we all understand he's not an expert in forensics. Okay, continue.
You want me to answer now, or
Mr. Beaumont, do you want to just restate the
Yeah,
question?
can you? Sorry for all the confusion. Could you please explain to me how the PD came to determine on that night that the casings belong to Miss Onyx?
well, I believe it's been said too in the opening. Those casings were retrieved from the crime scene that Mr. Miller came to PD with. Those casings were then taken down to the lab. The lab runs their test. There's several tests can be ran. Whether it's ballistics, whether it's fingerprints, whether whatever. GSR was mentioned in here. That's on an individual, but ballistics and fingerprints can be ran. Those shells then are kept at the lab. They send us over through our database through the computers the final determination of the bullets, which then was, I believe, Mr. Ocean got the discoveries on them, and then let it be known over the radio, and that's why Miss Onyx was detained and taken down to the station for further
Okay.
investigation.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you clearing that up. Last question. Is it standard practice to detain and question individuals who have been identified through physical evidence and credible threats in connection with a violent crime?
Absolutely.
Okay. No further questions.
All right, Major Reed, you may return to.
If I may,